it's been a long time in process, and I know Florida Carry's been very vigilant in going after this. So it's good to
Absolutely.
hear. I'm sure
So
you feel
I
the same
just,
way.
I just want recognition for what we call the South Point Six, the six members that exercised their right on South Point Pier in Miami Beach in 2018. Recognition for Mr. McDaniels, the plaintiff or the defendant in this case, whose rights have been vindicated by this decision. He engaged in a full-on act of civil disobedience on July 4th, 2022, while holding a copy of the United States Constitution.
What's going on, everybody? Celiac here. And like you said, like at the intro, yeah, I was part of that South Point Six. And because of some of the things that on that day, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of videos, that were probably looked at and they were like, oh, it is what it is. But I, and many others, have slowly affected change for this to be thrown out by the courts. So don't go out and open carry right now. Open carry is still not legal, but it's coming. Unless some type of weird appeal comes up or whatever, it's not happening. We're going to have open carry. It's just a matter of when. So, that being said, let's hop into the rest of this video. And like I said, the video comes from James Madison, but I'm going to insert things. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this. Don't forget, hit that like, share, and that subscribe button. And I'm sorry I haven't been around lately, but I'm starting to get back to it. So hopefully you haven't unsubscribed, and hopefully you can send a few friends and let them subscribe, and definitely share this video everywhere.
Carry is unconstitutional. This is coming out of the First District Court of Appeals, and I got to speak to the appellate attorney Eric Friday about this incident. It all stemmed from an incident in Pensacola where a man went out on July 4th at a major intersection protesting this unconstitutional law. He was arrested, he was convicted, and they went to an appeal. Let's listen to what Eric Friday has to say and what it means for Florida if you can go out there and open carry at this time. All right, so we're on the phone with Eric Friday. He's a firearms attorney and civil attorney out of Jacksonville, Florida. Eric, let me ask you a question. This open carry ruling out of the first DCA, it's got to mean some big news for you, Florida Carry, and the residents. What can you tell me about it?
So it is a huge ruling. It says that the ban that was put in place on open carry in 1987 in Florida is unconstitutional. It is an unenforceable law. Now, the opinion is not final yet, so nobody should be starting to open carry just yet, but this is a significant step in having this law struck down once and for all. It is important for people to understand that this law is one of the last remaining vestiges of Jim Crow laws in Florida, and it's time for Jim Crow to die.
And so let me ask you this. When it comes down to open carry and the prohibition against it, when did this happen? Because I know Florida had something back in the books that said you can open carry.
We had licensed open carry of pistols and Winchester repeaters up until 1987, and any other long gun could just be open carried, period, up until 1987. But in 1987, the legislature put in place a complete ban on open carry, which means since 1987, people have not been legally allowed to carry even a hunting rifle to go hunting. It was only an affirmative defense that you were open carrying a hunting rifle while hunting. So in other words, before this law, if you're open carrying in your own home, if you're open carrying a rifle while hunting, you were committing a crime that you could lawfully be arrested for, and then you could explain to the judge that, well, there's an exception that applies to me, but no civil rights lawsuit. And in fact, that's what happened to 6 members of Florida Carry. We call them the South Point Six in Miami Beach in 2018.
I did see that.
So that 2018 case had a big impact in this one. The judge there, which by the way happens to be the judge that also said that alligator Alcatraz was illegal and was reversed recently, she got it wrong. She said that this was a constitutional regulation of the right to carry, and now the First District Court of Appeals has said no, it's not. There is a right to open carry in the state of Florida based on the Second Amendment.
So these two courts have a conflict, and then from here, where is that going to have to go?
Well, so that was a federal court, which has no authority over interpreting Florida state law when a Florida state court changes the ruling. But the conflict is between the fourth DCA in the Dale Norman case that the Supreme Court took in 2017 and this case today. So where it goes from here is the Attorney General's office has some decisions to make about how they proceed, and they have 15 days from today in which to make some of those decisions.
And this is where the Attorney General can appeal this if he wants to, but he can also not appeal it if he decides, right?
Well, he can appeal, or he can choose not to appeal. There are reasons why he could appeal and admit that the first DCA is correct, but we need to clarify Florida law based on the conflicting rulings from the first and the fourth. So that's an option he has. We're just going to have to wait and see what his office decides to do.
And so the only thing that you can do now legally just to keep yourself in a safe position is carry under the 790.25, which is the hunting, fishing, camping, and going to and from.
Right. Or under licensed or unlicensed concealed carry, correct.
And you're the general counsel for Florida Carry, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, the recommendations that I'm seeing when I see everybody posting on here from there is, huge news, but just slow down just a minute. Let's wait. Don't just run out there and start open carrying.
Correct. Okay. That is our advice for the time being until we have the ruling is final. It does not become final until after time for any motions for rehearing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's also the possibility of an appeal.
And that's it. I've got chills talking to you about this because when we go out there and do these open carry things to show that protest of it while we go fishing, or if we carry the sock that goes over it with a print of a firearm on it, it's been a long time in process, and I know Florida Carry's been very vigilant in going after this. So it's
Absolutely.
Good to hear. I'm sure
so
you feel the same way.
I just want recognition for what we call the South Point Six, the 6 members that exercised their right on South Point Pier in Miami Beach in 2018. Recognition for Mr. McDaniels, the plaintiff or the defendant in this case, whose rights have been vindicated by this decision. He engaged in a full-on act of civil disobedience on July 4th, 2022, while holding a copy of the United States Constitution. And we thank him for doing that and for being willing to be a person who stood up for our rights and took the risk of arrest, which he was arrested, to fight for this right and get us here.
That's awesome. I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you so much. And I know that from your work and talking to you and knowing you, I know you fight hard against all the government with overreach with the Second Amendment. So thank you for that as well. It's been awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.